All right. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Oh, it's Mikey Wine here. You guys know me as Gundam Money Works, and we are live. This is part 16. Getting up there. And the Zaku head is on deck. We're doing the M61A5. What's up, Julius? This is the M61A5 main battle tank. It's turned into a diorama now, so we're got a Zaku head at 1/35 scale from the Ramba Ral commando set. I'm going to be doing some destruction of that today. Well, I waited to let someone sign in before me, but yeah, nope, you're first. I'm going to try something new. Let's see how this works. I can actually click a button here, and all the comments will pop in on screen. I think that's how it's supposed to work. But anyway, we're going to find out. So, I didn't get a lot done this week, and I haven't been getting a lot done between broadcasts. Just lately, it's just been everything getting in the way. But in particular, my wife broke her foot this last weekend, so I had to take care of her. And anyway, that was fun. But she's okay; she'll be fine. And got to wear a boot for about 6 weeks. But other than that, we're good. So I didn't get a chance to take the Dremel to the foam base. Yeah, so that's still one piece. But I did carve out some of the area that the head is going to be sunk down into. So I'm going to get to that in just a second here. Let me go down to this down look here. We'll take a look. So, oh, what's this? Oh, gosh, here we go. Struggling with... I don't need to see this. This is dumb. Already getting spam from Kick. Struggling with slow growth or fake followers. I specialize in blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? I'm not interested. So I'm not struggling with slow growth or fake followers, so I don't need your help. Sorry. Whatever you want to say. I don't need it. Anyway. So looking down here, I was going to use this roll of wire to kind of make the, bend and make the wires of it, but it's just not strong enough. But I did find those springs. I was looking for these last week. A lot of these springs, these are actually out of the automotive industry. These springs came from like various engine seals. They have a spring inside that holds them tight to whatever surface that the seal is riding on. And so whichever ones weren't used, I just took the seals and pulled the springs out of them. And that's what they look like when you come out. Just a round spring. But they do have a connection point. You can detach them. And then you just have this like section like this. I've already used a little bit of this, but this is a straight spring. And then I also bought some, this is 1/16 brass rod, and I got some 1/32 brass rod. I got some 1/16 brass rod here too. So I'll use that instead. I also have, this is like leftover. Oh gosh, I am just getting spammed like you won't believe. Add me up on Discord and join your stream whenever you're streaming. Blah, blah, blah. Gosh, guys, please, Kick, go away. I'll end up using a different streaming service. I mean, StreamYard's fine. That's what I'm using. But I'm talking about these other, where my videos are going, whatever locations. So I also have this leftover tube. These are some vinyl tubes that came in old Tamiya motorcycle kits for various things like brake lines or ignition wires, radiator hoses that they're for the 1/12 scale motorcycles. So I got a bunch of this vinyl hose left over. I can also use that. So tonight I'm just going to be, I'm going to go down to the close up here. Let's see if we can see a little bit better. So I've got a piece here. This basically what I want to do is connect these two with some cables coming out of this end and going into here to kind of look like this whole section's been pulled away. With the power cables and things inside still stretching between the two. This side will have some attached to the nose, but then they'll just be kind of dangling straight down from there. So kind of just ripping this whole section apart. I also like the way I'm kind of like placing some of these pieces and the panels aren't quite lining up. And I kind of like the fact that it looks like there's some panel separation based on the impact, which was kind of what I was thinking of. It'd be like any kind of structure, when you drop something and it hits the ground, there's going to be some separation there. So basically what I did is I carved out, it's a little bit harder to see on camera, but there's a deeper channel here and then a little bit here. This is where the neck structure will be, and then this is where the other power cable will go. So this will kind of sit, I can pull this down a little bit, but it'll kind of sit on its side, kind of embeds itself into the base. And then, you know, I could fill that the rest of it in. Remember last week too, we were talking about this stuff. It was getting a really thick and almost not, you couldn't even stir it. It was just like almost like a really thick paste. And I was concerned about how to rejuvenate it, whether we use water or an acrylic based thinner. So what I did is I took this bottle of Tamiya acrylic thinner, their paint thinner, and I tried just a little bit and it worked awesome. So now I've got a nice, let's see, let me get my little stir stick here. I might even add some more, but now it's nice and thin. It's still thick enough that you can spread it almost like a frosting, which is what you want because it'll hold its shape easier. And if it's too thin, then it just kind of runs down and settles in the grooves and stuff. But you can spread it around with a spatula. I've got some like clay tools like for doing clay modeling stuff. I'm just going to get this good and tight. Make sure it's tight. I might even take a piece of cling film and just kind of put it over the top and then tighten it down to seal it a little bit better so it holds in that moisture. But at any rate, that way, once I get this thing ready to go, I'll lay down a layer of that desert sand, and then I can just kind of push this down into it. Actually, I'm going to wait till it's almost cured, so it's still going to be wet a little bit, but not quite. And then I can press this down in there and kind of create a footprint where this thing will go, and it'll also fill in all those gaps, any kind of gaps in here in the styrofoam. It'll fill all that in. So this is going to sit kind of like that. You can see like a little outline here where I kind of wanted to set it. I've also got an outline here. This is basically where the footprint of the treads go. The tank is quite a bit larger than this, but this is basically where it touches the ground. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I think, let's see if I can, I'm not sure if I'll be able to attach these two tonight, but I'm going to start with this nose section here. I'm just going to insert some pieces and have some of that stuff dangling down, maybe using this tubing. This stuff is brass rod, so it's easy to bend. I can shape it whichever way I want to do, and then it'll hold its position, and we won't have to do anything, any adjustment. So I just found a couple of packs of this. There's like, I can't remember how many in each one. There's quite a few rods, but it was a quick little easy purchase on Amazon, and that's where we're at. So how's it going, Julius? Anybody else? And not too many people on right now. We'll see if we get any more numbers later. If not, oh well, it is what it is, right? It's a crazy world we're living in right now. It's getting pretty wild. A lot of stuff going on. So I know my mind has been on other things. Hasn't been scale model building much with everything else that's happening on this planet. But anyway, I'm just gonna kind of move some of these around. I got the nose here. I was thinking of, having this kind of pulled away. There's this nice little radiator piece here, which is a nice addition. I can damage that and have this kind of pulled away. There's also some, looks like bolts that hold this section on. So I can drill those out, maybe have those pulled out like they just popped because of the impact and separated. So this will kind of be off to the side. I can do the same with all this. You can see like a gap here. I kind of like the way that looks. Like it just, just from the force of hitting the ground, kind of blew all those panels apart, causing that misalignment. So I'm just going to kind of toss some of these pieces to the side so we can work without, because otherwise this stuff's just going to fall off like that. It's just going to keep getting in the way. So I'm just going to kind of take these off. I'm also going to have to take a Dremel to the lens and then figure out where a majority of the damage will be on. It's going to be mostly on this side of the glass because this is the cable that has been severed. So if you pop these in or put this back to the same angle where it would normally be, where the gap is. So I think I'm going to start with most of my damage right around this corner of it, and maybe shatter this whole glass out. I think it'll be easier to do with a Dremel rather than trying to hand drill it and cut it with a razor. Let's see. Julia says, I'm good. I'm putting in MG inner frame alligator clips for primer. Nice. Julia says, did you decide? Let me put this on screen, Julius. So I guess that thing did not work. That checkbox didn't work. None of your... I have to manually put them on screen, which is still fine. I don't have a problem with that. But anyway, did you decide put an LED somewhere in the Zaku head? Yes and no. Okay. I think for the sake of the sensor, the eye, I don't think I'm going to put an LED in there, because based on what, some of the input I've been getting from the other builders is, if the head is severed, there's basically no power at all that would go to the eye. So I may not do that. I probably won't do that. However, I could still use that flicker LED. I have white flicker LEDs as well, which I could maybe put one like under the base here. So when it flickers, it will look like sparks maybe that are underneath that you can't see. So just kind of giving a little bit of ambient light flicker underneath the neck. I may do that, and that would be easy to do as well. I just have to hide the LED somewhere and then figure out where to put the battery. It's just a 3-volt battery, but it'll do the same thing. It'll flicker, but it'll be a white LED, so it will look like, more like. I could probably use the amber one too, but I think maybe a white one might look a little bit more like sparks or electrical, issues or something like that. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Anyway, looks like you're the only one here, Julius. So, I've also got this other little piece of. This is the. It's like a lower, kind of a cowl that goes around this bottom half. I'm going to embed this one in the dirt or whatever. Kind of stuck it down in there, just smash it down in there, so it looks like it just kind of bam. When it hit, it flies off and just kind of sticks in the dirt. I'm going to do that with that as well. These pieces, I was cutting these, so I didn't intend to have them separated, but I was trying to figure out how to have a section of this separated, so I ended up cutting some of those up. But anyway, I'm going to work on this front section here, and I think what I'll do is I'll pop this lid off, and then we can okay, that comes out pretty easy. Nice. Yeah, I think it'll look cool. I'm trying to keep motivated. My motivation's kind of gone down a little bit. I'm just really struggling with it. I know Giovanni said, don't worry about the commission project, but it's still in the back of my mind, and I don't want to leave. I know I don't do deadlines, but I still, at the same time, it's like I don't want to leave somebody waiting or hanging, So I guess what I got to do here is figure out the angle, because I want to make sure these are dangling straight down. So it looks like this will sit, if it was in its natural position, kind of about right there. So I think I can mark this. Yeah, I'm going to mark this with I could be turned slightly anyway, just because the cable is all ripped out. So nothing's going to align properly. I guess it doesn't have to be exact, but I'm going to mark this with a Sharpie, so I can kind of keep that same angle. I'm just going to go across the back of this, and that will line up with that part. And that way, when I go to glue it in place permanently, it'll be in there. So there we go. I got a little line across the back. All right. So Let's see. I want to have at least 2 or 3 pieces, if not more. I guess the more the better. I've also got this larger cable. I could maybe put this in the center and then have some smaller satellite cables around it or wires. This will also fit because I've got this 16th rod here, 1/16, so I can actually run this down the spring. The hell's blowing me up? Angel's blowing me up. Run this down the spring, and then leaving myself a little bit of sticking out here that I can glue into this side of it, and then just bend it and shape it. But it's basically going to come straight out and then kind of go down. So it's not really going to go waver from it. It's basically going to come straight out and straight down. Julia says, for weeks I've thought about, let's see, I put this on screen, thought about PG Unleashed Gundam New. Oh, yeah. But yeah, do you have $600 or something? Is that like a $600 kit or more? Justify buying the kit, right? Well, today I placed an order for it and the LED. Oh my God, dude. Good job. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's pretty darn cool. All right, so I think I'll have at least a good sizable cable in the center. So I'm going to drill myself a 1/16 hole. Probably won't use this entire length of spring because it's basically going to come out. This is going to be, again, we're going to have it dangling kind of like that. So they're really going to come out and then kind of lay on the ground. So it'll just be kind of a gradual bend. But those are going to be the severed cables. These pieces will be attached to this section here. Wow. Good job, Julie. So I want to see that when it's built or when you get it. Send me some photographs of that. That's going to be cool. Yeah, I just can't do it. I bought some pretty expensive kits in my time, and I probably will, not to say I won't do it again, but I just, right now, I can't. And, the wife's retired. So we've got other plans going on as far as, retirement stuff. And I got to think about that. So my days of buying a lot of expensive kits are just kind of in the rear view. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to start with the cable first, or the internal wire first. I think this is my 1/16 here, so I can just going to center punch this, and then I can drill it. I might even do a pilot hole. It's just a little bit easier to do a smaller pilot hole, and then and go straight. That way you don't have to worry about being dead on center. I think. Let's see. Do I have no? No, this is it. This is a really tiny drill bit, but it works great because there's a couple little spots that I drilled out on this. There's some rivets or some little brackets, kind of like on a tank, where you have these welded brackets that have a a hole in them that you can attach a tow cable to, or some other purpose of pulling or something like that. So I actually would use that little tiny bit to drill those out, rather than they're just kind of embossed into the plastic. But I like having actual holes for them. It just looks that much more realistic. So just going straight in, a good chunk here. I'm just going to drill enough that I can get that rod in there to glue, with some super glue, so it'll hold nice. It's kind of like pinning a resin kit, essentially. I just want to get it deep enough that I put the final. Let's see if this goes right in. Yeah, that fits in nice and tight. So what I'll do is I'll get my little pliers out, and eventually I'll bend this straight down. Then I'll kind of do a measurement. I'm going to cut this off, do a little measurement, and then I can have it, kind of dangle. I want it to look like it's kind of they're just laying on the ground. you had to sell off some of your backlog. Well, that's a good idea, I guess, you know, to supplement it for sure. Then it doesn't hurt so bad. It takes a little sting out of the purchase. I mean, when I did the 120 Gerwalk, the Macross Gerwalk, I had, there was a seller called, oh gosh, was it CD Japan? And they had one. And I was kind of watching it for a while. I just kind of had it. Well, it was a CD Japan. It was not actually, I think it was an eBay. But I put it on my watch list. And then one day I'm just literally sitting, you know, I was hanging with a friend of my wife, and we're just kind of hanging out at a winery. And all of a sudden I get a notification that it dropped like $100 for who knows why. Just some random reason it dropped in price $100. And I was just like, oh my God, do I do this now? And so I literally bought this thing while I was sitting in a winery. So this is what I'm kind of doing. You can see I did a 90-degree bend here. So I want to glue this in. I'm going to have to straighten it out a little bit because it's a little too straight. But then, or too much 90 degree, I'm going to have to reduce that angle. But basically, it's going to come out and go straight down toward the ground. So I'm going to just kind of use my pliers here to just kind of squeezing this together to straighten it back out. Oh, that just snapped right off. Okay. This stuff has a very low, looks like it's got a pretty low stress point. You bend it once and that's all you get. You can't go back and forth too many times because I tried to straighten it back out and I just snapped right off. But fortunately, I got plenty more to work with and plenty more to plenty more full pieces to work with. So, okay, that's better. So I made it a little bit longer. What's up, George? George dropped in. How's it going, buddy? Yeah, so Julius and I were just talking. He just sold off some of his backlog to buy a PG Unleashed Gundam, the new, and the light kit for it. So can't wait to see that build. That should be incredible. So we are just working on the head here. I've got some of this dug out where the head's going to be sitting in. This is where the cable, the energy cable on one side goes. So the head's kind of tilted. This is where the neck portion is. Got some busted cables on this side, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just basically shaping the core that I'm going to then take this spring and put it over. It should go with a little bit of finesse. I'll go around this corner. I may have to make that a little bit less sharp, but I should be able to slide that spring on and get it around that corner. First thing I want to do, though, is I got to put this back in so I can kind of get an idea on distance here. So this is only going to sit. I want to have it. Still want to have, once it gets to the ground, I want to have it kind of laying there a little bit. Oh, and Mike. Wow, the shot's being fired already. Just got here, George. All right. So I've got these little springs here. Again, these are, George, for you that haven't seen, these are out of the automotive industry. Basically, that's what I've been doing the last 30-some years. But whenever you do some major rebuilds or something like that, you got seals, engine seals. Like this was probably off of a rear main oil seal. So you've got, or something similar to that. And then you have this spring, which is installed in the seal, which actually holds the seal to the surface that it's riding on. But you can take them out when they're new, and they're not all soaked in oil. I just pop them out, and then they've got this little joiner piece, and you can separate it. Now you've got a piece of spring that you can use for some kind of energy cable. So you see that up close. So focus is it going to look? I don't know if you can see that spring or not. Let me see. This one might be easier to see. So yeah, we've got these nice chunks of spring to use as various energy or any kind of power cable for that matter, wherever it may be appropriate in the model that you're building. So getting back to this here, kind of want to see how far. So I'm going to go, just going to cut this off right about here, and then I can work with this one. Almost dropped it. And work with this one piece. So this is going to come out. And then I've got to bend it. Just kind of eyeballing it here. Just kind of eyeballing the height. I've got plenty of this. If I make a mistake, I can always just go back and cut off another piece, you know. So I'm just going to work this. This cable, I want it to look like it's dangling. These are going to be the severed side. Everything here is going to be attached to this other section. So just want to have this come out and look like it's dangling on the ground. That should be pretty good right there. I can make adjustments later. Work freebies, yeah. You don't always, when they buy these, you know, they'll sell you this big engine seal set. It's basically every single seal and gasket in the entire, you know, the entire engine needs or something. But you don't always end up using all of them. It's pretty good. It's pretty close so far. So we'll put this back in. Got to make a little bit more of a bend here. Yeah, so you end up having extras, and then I would go around too, because the other guy, I wasn't the only one doing that kind of work. So sometimes I would just go around and say, "Hey, are you going to use that?" No, I'm going to take it. No, so I would take them and just pop the springs out. There was a time where I had a ton of these things, and I would even go to build gatherings and hand them out to people. Just say, "Hey, you want some springs?" You know, or whatever. Okay, so it's a little bit harder to see from the angle you guys are at. Let me turn this around. So it comes out and then goes down to ground level and then over. So I'm gonna basically just start bending this and have it kind of look like a cable just resting free on the ground. It'll also kind of help hold this in a position too, that a position that looks like, you know, I mean, holding it up, because it's almost like a kickstand, really. And I was trying to find these. Remember, George? Remember, I was trying to. I don't know if you remember last week, or you in the last week, but I was trying to find this bag of springs, and I knew I had a few left over, and it was literally in one of the bins that I had pulled out. I just didn't look in the right place. I had to just lift up one little thing of like Q-tips, and there it was. As soon as after the broadcast, I went back and I started looking. I was like, "Damn it, there they are, right where I thought they were." I just missed it. So let me do a little more bending here. I'm going to straighten this out. So when this is in, kind of look like that. Now that's flat on the ground. Now I can go side to side and just kind of make it terminate wherever I want to at that point. So I'm going to go just kind of sideways and then maybe back the other way. Because once I'm gonna put a spring on this, so this is gonna be covered up. It's not just gonna be a wire. So yeah, there we go. So I can kind of have it laying on the ground, kind of random. Now, it may not even be that long. I might actually cut some of this off and just have it. It'll probably terminate like right around here. I might not be able to use all of this because I want that to look like it's been pulled out of these sections of these basic cable sections. I want it to be pulled like it got yanked out of those. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this off right about here. Now let's put this back in. Yeah, I'm going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment here. Okay, there we go. Just trying to get the shape right. Perfect, just like that. So now it's laying flat. So we put this in where this goes. This neck piece has got to be up a little bit. That's going to also hold the height, and then this other cable in the back will also kind of keep everything in place. Just like that. So I think I need to just bend this down just a bit. There we go. Fuzzy Space Kitty. How's it going, dude? I'm collecting some of these 1/35 scale kits to build super diorama. Ooh. I have the anti-mech team already. The M601 on this is on order. Nice. That sounds amazing. Yeah, I haven't done a big, huge diorama. The one that takes almost a year or 6 months. I haven't done one like that in a while. I think because I tend to, especially because I started doing the live videos, I like to keep things moving. And I mean, we're already on part 16 of this project just because it kind of morphed. I was just doing the tank originally, and now it morphed into having the Zaku head here and out of the Ramba Ral set, and then we want to make some damage. One thing I did talk about, one of the questions that Julius had earlier was had I decided on whether or not to put an LED in it. And my answer, George, I don't know if you're interested, was I'm not going to do one in the eye. I think, GB, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while. How's it going, buddy? Coming to you from Australia. I figured because what Handren said about, once the head is severed, there shouldn't be any power to the rest of the head, so the eye would not be lit up or even flickering at that point. But I did think, what would it be cool to have maybe one of those flickering LEDs in the neck area so it kind of looks like sparks. So that's where I think I might try that. I'll get one of those white flickering LEDs out and then find some place to kind of hide it under there so you'll see that ambient light from underneath just kind of flickering on the dirt under here in the desert or the sand or whatever. And so I think if I do anything at all, I'll do that, and that should probably look pretty cool. So now that I've got this wire shaped what I want to make sure I can get this spring on there. It's going to take a little bit of effort to get it around these corners. There we go, just like I wanted. So now you see, now my cable, my spring will hold that shape. And I've got just enough sticking out of the end here so I can glue that in place inside of that energy cable. So now I've just got to cut this off wherever I want. I can take this, insert it in there, and now I've got that cable. Looks like it's just laying on the ground. I might put a little bit more of a bend just right about here. I can do this by hand, really, just to change that angle just a little bit. Oops, almost went too far with the spring. No. Great. Now my wire is inside and I can't get it back out. Uh-oh. All right, so I'm going to have to find the end of my wire here. I'm going to have to cut this spring back. My spring slid forward over where I need it to glue back in, and I can't, of course, so There, I can almost see it. Let's see, there we go. I'm actually getting it to come back out. There we go. Okay. Just got to be careful when I do any manual bending like that. It just kind of advanced my spring forward. So let me slide this back off. See if I can get it to come back off. Oh, Fuzzy Space Kitty. I have built the coffee table to house it already. Damn, that's cool. That sounds pretty amazing. All right, so I'm just going to take this spring back off for a second. And then I want to, what was I going to do? I was going to add a little bit more of a, yeah, I want to just put a little bit of a bend right about here, just so it kind of falls down. Trying to look more of a natural, you know, not tight, but I want it to look natural, like it's just kind of laying on the ground. All right, I think we're ready. So I'll slide this back over my rod here. This is a 1/16 rod. I've also got a 1/32 as well. I got a package of each. So I can, you know, whatever I don't use on this project, I can use for basically pinning, you know, other resin stuff later on, or even if I need some to repair a model, I can use this for pinning. It's perfect size for it. Okay, so if I put this goes in right about there. So let me mark that. So I want to make sure I got enough of this sticking out, the spring, to cover up all of that brass rod. So this has to go basically just over right about there. Old automotive wiring looms are a great source. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was going to use this stereo, you know, 2-wire stereo wire, but it's just not strong enough. It's a little bit too thin. When I stripped off the insulation, then it just wouldn't hold its shape, especially with some of these springs. So that's why I decided to go with the brass rod. That way I can shape it exactly how I want, and it'll hold its shape without, you know, losing any kind of tension over time. So now I just want to find out where the end is and then cut off. I'm just going to cut this spring. All right, so now I'll just paint the end of that black. So now I can stick this in there, lay this down in there. So I've got this piece. Try to do a little quick show and tell here. I'm going to move some of these pieces off. All this extra stuff. I want to tilt this up, so I'm going to move it. This is also, this stuff here is vinyl tubing from doing like old 1/12 scale Tamiya motorcycle kits, and they always give you a roll of that, or some pieces of that, so you can do like the little ignition wires and brake lines, and so you always end up having extra. And I've always saved it over the years. So now I've got a bunch of that I can use for wires and stuff like that. So here's what this will look like. I'm going to bring it up kind of at an angle so everybody can see. So that way it sits. I know it kind of moved on me here, but it'll sit basically right on the ground, just like that. And then, like I said, there's going to be another section of the energy tube here. Those individual sections, these wires will be pulled and connected to that. This is going to be the severed section over here. So I just want those sections to look like all those wires got pulled through. Copper as well. Helps lots. Yeah. Damn autocorrect. Yeah, it happens sometimes. I don't think I missed any comments. That looks good. Good day, mate. Yeah, it's always good to have him here. Hey, Handred's finally coming in. How you doing, bud? All right. So now that we've got that, this is going to sit up like that, and then like that. Yeah, that's basically where I want. Okay, now that I've got that main one in the middle, now I can put some smaller ones around it. I want to have a few cables kind of coming out and just hanging and basically on the ground. So I can take some smaller, I can even use this tubing if I want. I actually took this this piece of vinyl tubing here will actually, I can actually run this 1/32 wire right through it. So this is even thinner, be easier to bend. But then I can put this tubing through it and shape it whichever way I want. So I'm probably going to do that next. That'll be just like this spring. It'll be easy to kind of glue in place. So I'm going to take my drill bit. Let's see which one. I need one in between here. I've got some small ones and then several. I've got several pin vices here with different various sizes but nothing that's 1/32. So I'm going to have to pull one out of the drum set here, which I think will work. I think this guy's going to be fine. Let's see. That's a little bit larger, but that one will work. Been in Pennsylvania for the last few days, huh? Pennsylvania. Driving that truck, huh? I've even got some springs left over from the Maquet kit I did. All right, let me see if I've got. This is another little tiny miniature. I mean, you remember those old school metal drill bit sets your dad had? This is like a little tiny version of it. But I don't think these are big enough. These are too small. Well, this one might actually. Yeah, I'm going to try this. This one might actually work. So yeah, a little tiny. I found this. Where did I find this at? It was like some kind of model swap meet or something, and I found this little thing. It's really kind of cool. Come in handy for sure because they're decent drill bits. They're very sharp, but they're not as fragile as some of those dentistry bits that you can find. Those are really pain in the butt. At least these things will. All right, let me move this down a bit. I think I gotta. Oops, that's too far. That's the wrong direction. Let me go right there. All right. So I'm going to drill just a tiny hole off to the side here. I'll see if this rod will go through that without having to make any other adjustment. But yeah, these bits are pretty good. They cut well, and they're not very, they're, like I said, they're a lot more. Okay, yeah, that'll work perfect. This is just the right size. So now I can use a piece of this 32nd rod. Close to Gettysburg. I actually drove through Gettysburg. Did you catch the address while you were there? See what I did there? get the address of that while you were getting it? I know, dad jokes. They're not always funny. Went through the Marylands. All right, so this is going to sit again like that. Now, got this, so I think 3 good solid cables might look okay. May add a 4th, but I think 3 is probably enough, especially with this kind of fat one there in there first. So let's set this in. Yeah. This actually not look that bad if I have these. If I bend, I just use, there's enough of this tube here. I think I can get at least 2 good solid wires out of it, because it doesn't have to be that long, only a couple inches there. Oh, Fuzzy's out. Gotta go. Sorry I couldn't stay long at this time. Sort of the middle of a day. Oh, in New Zealand. Oh, nice. Well, thanks for joining in, buddy. Catch you next time, I hope. We'll see you then. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Fuzzy. Good to see you. Yeah, somebody from New Zealand, man. That's crazy. I like it. Okay. I'm getting back here. I know the angle's kind of shitty for you guys. I'm trying to, if I could flip this around and work over the top of it, it'd be a lot easier, but I kind of got it right in front of me here. And of course, I've got so little space because I got so much crap on the bench right now that every time I push everything forward, it shoves over my parts and everything back. So, anyhow, let's see here. We're going to, again, start with, I think I can use this one as a guide. So I'm going to come out and go down. So I want to just bend this almost at a 90. Not quite. It's pretty easy to bend this thinner wire. It's even easier than the... Yeah, there we go. So that will go in like that. Add even a little bit more of a bend. Let's see, right here. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So that's in. This goes. Okay. So I'm going to have to do a lot of fitting here. This is going to take a little bit of trial and error because I got to make sure I cut these right, and then I've got to have the right angle. Let's see this right there. I'm telling you, this neck, it has to sit just right. Otherwise, the height's not right. This is going to take, once I get the height and everything, I can glue everything in place. And that way I won't have to make any more adjustments. But so I'm kind of just roughly measuring my length here, and then I can adjust it from there. Oh gosh, what did I miss? I gotta go back up and read some. Let's see, going to land and Mary's a couple. Mike never pays attention to us when he's fixed on a model. I'm deeply disappointed. I try to, George. Oh, the tool. Yes, I know. You're talking about the tool here. Let me go back up and find out what I missed. I didn't miss anything. Feeling catching extreme. The tool. Did you try it? There it is. No, not yet. I have not tried it. I have it sitting here. I actually put this blade in it I put the other one back, but boy, you need to be careful with this thing. They are sharp. I mean, my God, man. If you are not watching what you do and you just like slide your fingers down there trying to install this thing and you're not paying attention, whew, yeah. But I like it's almost the same size as a BMC chisel handle, so it fits in my little rack over here nicely. But I didn't put the other bit in there. The other bit is this guy, and again, this is quite a bit larger, but it's a 3-sided scraping tool, and man, it is sharp. You need to handle this thing by the middle. If you grab the end and try to use that as your leverage, you're going to just slice your fingers right open. So yeah. So now George is saying I never pay attention to him. Make sure he gets to 3 before freaking traffic shuts down, huh? You got to get up at 3. Scrolls down. Here we go. Scrolling down, for fuck's sake, you guys. See, now you're just throwing comments in there just so it takes me forever to catch up. Because now I got to go scroll through 15 comments. You guys are laughing. Bloodletting. Yeah, a little bit of bloodletting. Never hurt anybody. I do enough of that at work. I don't need to do it here, though. I mean, look at these hands. These are working hands, man. Fortunately, I got tough enough skin because of that. So, all right. I'm going back to trying to bend my wires here. So I'm just kind of doing a rough estimate on length just to get the right. So when I put this, yeah, it's a little bit too straight. I got to just do a gradual bend. So when this sits on the ground, yeah, see, it's still a little too short. I'll start my bend about there. I like how the Zaku is digged in. Yeah, that's for sure. That's the only thing I really got done this week. For those of you guys that joined in just in the last 15, 20 minutes or so, my wife broke her foot. Actually, she broke her big toe this last weekend. And so I've been taking care of her. Actually took a day off of work on Monday because I had to go to the emergency room and have all the x-rays done, make sure she didn't need surgery. So the only thing I really got done was digging this out. So this is a real rough cut of where this is going to be laying, but at least it tilts the head so it's tilted down in this way. And then so the cables will be kind of laying on the ground. One of the other things I did do was I was able to restore this stuff. I tried some of that, just a tiny bit of that acrylic thinner, the Tamiya stuff. Stuff worked great. It said you could thin it with water or acrylic thinner, but I decided to try it with thinner versus that because I think I like staying with the chemical rather than watering something down. It just seems like it would probably evaporate too quickly and maybe dry out. So I thought it was better. So I tried a little bit of that thinner at first, and it just worked awesome. Couldn't ask for a better result. So I just kept adding more and more and more, and I left it alone there. I don't want to get it too thin, but that way, when I do lay that first layer down in here, it will fill in all those little gaps. And then when it's mostly cured, I can just shove this down in there and kind of make an impression. So it should hold that shape. And then once I glue it down or attach it, then I can use the pigments and stuff to dust it up and make it blend in with that sand by using those other pigment colors that I've got. So still just measuring this. I'm going to make sure this is kind of the right height. It's pretty close. If I give it just another little bend right here, I should be able to, because again, this is going to sit on the ground. Yeah, oh, I got a little too high. Trying to get this, because this is going to constantly move on me as I'm got to make sure all these levels are the right length, because then I'll have something that's not angled right. Yeah, this is a little too high off the ground. I know I'm barely on camera here, but I'm just kind of like using this wire to try. I'm using the base to try to see how far down my wire has to go. So I need to adjust right about there. Yeah, it's still too high. Oh shit. Well, that didn't work. Start over. And one thing I have noticed with this copper wire, I learned this early on when I started working with that other piece, is it fatigues pretty quickly. If you make an adjustment, you can only really bend it maybe once or twice. After that, you risk breaking it, and I just snapped that piece right off trying to make an adjustment. So that is not going to work. I'm going to start over here. Fortunately, I have plenty of this stuff that I just bought, so I should have more than enough to Henry says, smooth epoxy putty would work as well as applying a bit of Vaseline to the other side of the Zaku head and put it in the epoxy putty. Oh, I got you. Yeah. I'm not too concerned about the impression more than I am. I want to be able to apply some of that, to fill in, once I get some of that paste down in there, the desert sand stuff, once I fill in those little chunks where the styrofoam is, I just basically want to make sure that I can shove this down in there, but I don't want to bury it because I want to be able to use pigments to blend that together. So I'm not too concerned about the impression, other than I just want to fill in these gaps that, with all from the styrofoam bits that have been pulled out of it. I want to make sure that those are filled in nicely, and it's, of course, doesn't need to be a perfectly smooth surface. So this thing is slamming into the dirt, so there's going to be different surface features and stuff like that. So okay, so I think I need to go right about here. Trying this again. Once I see if I got the height right this time. Yeah, that's even better. That's a lot closer to where it needed to be. Okay, so I can work with this. So I'm going to cut this off somewhere kind of random, because this is just going to be the loose end that's going to be kind of laying there. Okay, will be a site to look at once done. Oh, one of the things that we did talk about before you got here, Hendren. I'll get to your question in a second, George. Julius asked me earlier in the beginning of the stream whether or not I had decided to put a light in the Zaku head. I decided not to put one in the eye of the head. However, because of what you were saying about the generators being in the chest, if the head is severed, there wouldn't be any power. But I thought, okay, fine, I can do that. I won't put any light there. However, I could still use a flickering LED under the neck to kind of look like sparks. So I thought maybe I'll use a white flickering LED somewhere under the head in the neck portion, that you can't see, but just see that kind of ambient light flickering onto the sand and stuff. I thought that might be a nice touch. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do. I just got to figure out where to hide the power supply, hide the battery, whatever. Okay, George got a question here. It says, will you have figures on the base of the tank? Yes, there will be 3 figures at least on the tank. There's going to be one. The commander will be in the commander seat. There's another guy sitting on the back in the stowage area. Let me bring this over. I'll just bring the tank over so you guys can kind of see. So, oops, I don't want to lose my drill bit. That's a little skinny drill bit. I'm going to save that over here. You just kind of slide this stuff aside here, and I'll back up to the other view. So I've got this square here where you can kind of see where the tank is supposed to be. So let me go grab the tank. All right, so the tank, this is just basically where the treads meet the ground. So the tank will sit right about here. Let me go to this look. That's a really good idea. Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. That's more like it. Yeah, I love that. Cool. I'm glad you do. I appreciate your input. Kind of got me thinking about it. When this is done, it will be an IPMS magazine cover. Well, let's hope so. We know somebody who's an IPMS chapter president, so maybe he can make that happen. So anyway, the tank will sit right here, and I want to kind of put the turret in this fashion only because we'll have the commander sitting in the turret here. And then I'm going to have the other figure is designed to sit in this corner of the stowage area. So that's why I put the Zaku head on this side and the tank over here, is because back here is where he'll be standing. The other one that would normally be the driver, I think I'm going to put out here standing on the dirt in front of it. So the tank will be positioned kind of here, and you'll have the three figures in that respect. That's, I think, that's what I'm sure. I think we'll do. Let's see if I can kind of show you. I've got, is that the guy? Yeah, this is the guy here. So I got all these figures in their own little baggies because I wanted to keep their parts separated. So this guy's got a little crease in his behind where he's kind of leaning against the back bar here. So he'll stand right about here. Let's see if I can even get that. Let me try to go close up again. You guys can kind of see that. So we go closer. There we go. So you can zoom in. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring it up. But anyway, he kind of stands right about there. You can kind of see how he's almost seated on the bar. That's the way they designed that figure. So there's really only one place he can go. I was going to put the tank on this side and have the head over here. But then you've got this figure kind of dangling out in the back here with no place to, with no real purpose other than he's on the opposite side. So I flipped it around and did it that way. So I think once we, I could always move this around too. This is just, could be the right place. I might move it a little bit closer, but we'll have him sitting back here. His feet are kind of flat. Yeah. So that's kind of the way he sits. He just kind of sits here with his backside on the bar. It's kind of hard to see because he's brown. I haven't painted anything yet, but he's got one arm on this rail, the other one kind of behind him on this rail. And then, like I said, the commander will be standing up. I'm going to try to rotate him so he's looking in this direction, but we'll rotate him around, and then we'll have the driver standing up. Because when you build this, you have the option to put the driver in the seat, and then you just don't use his legs. You just use his torso section, and that's it. But if you want him standing, you can just attach his legs and do it that way. So that's what I decided to do. I'm trying to think, is this the driver here? No. Got 3 packs here. Yeah, so here's the driver, and he's just standing, standing straight up. There's really he's not tilted any one direction. He's kind of just there. There's another guy here also standing, but this is the commander. So he'll be standing in the seat up on top of the turret. That's that. Can you modify the pose of that figure? The one that goes in the back? I think there's a little bit of leeway maybe for his arm positions, but of course the heads, I could glue them tilted, turning a certain direction, so I'll be able to do that, I think, but not a lot because of the way they designed his stance is so that he's got to kind of be seated on the rail. His legs are slightly bent, so he's not fully standing upright. It would look like he's trying to hide a fart or something if he was standing up without leaning on that pole. So I'm just going to put this back so I can get back to the Zaku here. Epoxy putty is your... Yeah, I know. I've used epoxy putty before when I did my Star Wars diorama with those two scout troopers. I used epoxy putty on those Star Wars kits because when they designed those models, they made them like an action figure. So you've got these funky ankle joints and elbow joints and stuff like that. So I posed them, and then I used epoxy putty to and sculpted their actual elbows and knees and ankles to fill in all those gaps, so it looked more like a real person versus an action figure. The only thing I left alone was the shoulder joints and the hips, because I wanted to still have a little bit of posability, but I could probably do something. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to spend that much time on it. Maybe that's why I'm fighting with that idea, but I don't know. We'll see. If you place that figure by the Zaku head, it would look like you're looking into the looking into the head. That's a good point, Julius. So we'll try that. We'll see. When I get to that point and I start assembling the figure, I'll see if I can do something like that. And maybe he's looking underneath here. Maybe he's standing over here somewhere, peeking in. I just got to make sure that his arms will be positioned properly, because I don't want it to look kind of weird and out of place. But it's hard for me to see that if that'll work or not without actually trying it, because it's hard to see it without actually putting it together, because I don't have the figures completely glued together yet. So I'm just kind of bending this to, in a random way that looks like a cable that's kind of laying on the ground. And then I'll actually put this tubing over it, make it slightly thicker, but it will also hold its shape. I get this end started. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to have to sand that. There's a little bit of a burr, and it's just making it hard to get this tube over the top of it. Is the tiny LED you use possibly to use the commander's head, showing him smoking cigar? No, we're not getting that crazy. Anonymous comment: the YouTube and Facebook URLs are wrong. Well, I doubt that very seriously, whoever anonymous comment is, because I've been using these same URLs for the last 3 years. So it's going to take a little bit of extra effort to get this tube over this. I'm just going to have to make sure I deburr the ends of this, but first I got to make sure this is going to sit. Imagine that would be so awesome. Yeah, tiny, tiny, tiny LEDs, but I'm not sure I have that kind of time. And I guess I have all the time in the world, but all right, let's see if the second one's going to line up. Pop this in. Set this down. Yeah, I'm going to have to make some adjustments. I can see already, but I kind of get the idea. The second wire. Let me spin this around so you guys can see. I've got to make some adjustments to make sure this sits flat, but see, I want this to kind of sit. This one's pretty good. That one sits just fine. This one I've got to bend. You can see it's raised up off the. It's actually raised up off the surface, so I've got to make some adjustments so it sits completely flat on at ground level. I've also got to think about too is when I put this layer of paste down, it's going to change my measurement slightly. So, but I should be able to make some minor adjustments. So elaborate, Mr. Anonymous comment from Kick, when you say my YouTube and Facebook URLs are wrong. I don't remember having those on there, but I'll have to check. Kick is a pretty new one of the newer streaming locations for me, so maybe there is something I need to change. All right, so I'm going to try to pop this cable back out. Try to straighten it out so it just sits a little bit flatter. All right. Okay. Pretty good. Bend that. And I'm also going to give it a little bit of a twist there. It's a pretty precise fit, but gosh darn it, that's falling out now. It's crazy how much that changes as soon as it drops down a little bit further. How much it changes that angle. That's why it's important to get these the length of these correct. I need to change that. I'm going to bring this up. There we go. And the higher I have this tilted, the better it's going to fit. Just need to make sure everything still lines up. Yeah, I still need to adjust that other cable. I'm getting down to it. We got about 15 more minutes maybe. All right. So I need to make an adjustment here, but let me just back in and see. Okay, I'm going to take it that point right there and just straighten this out. There. Come on. All right. There we go. That's beautiful. So now it's laying right on the ground just nicely. I pop this one back in. My spring. Yeah. That looks nice. Okay. I settle that down. Yeah. They're both touching the ground just perfect. So now I got one more. Maybe you know what I'll do with this last one? I think I won't have it touching the ground. It'll just be coming out and kind of dangling. I think that'll work best. They don't all need to be touching the ground. But what I got to do first, I got to kind of sand off where these, actually I might use my diamond files, and just take off this burr on the edge of this where I cut it, because it was making my life a little harder trying to get that tubing over it. If I can't get the tubing over it, I'll just use these wires and just paint the wires by themselves without putting the tubing over it. I just thought maybe the tubing would give it a little more bulk. Plus it's already, a black color, which is fine for what I'm doing here. I could paint it a different color, but it's already black rubber, so that's fine. Looks like an insulated wire. All right. Let me see if this will work now. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to get this tubing to fully... Oh, but that's way better. Once I took that burr off, it's going around these corners, which makes it a little bit harder, but now that I took that burr off, yeah, this is cakewalk. All right. So now we've got black wire. Now I need to do is just kind of bend it. I can see where the end of the tubing or the end of the wire is. So all I got to do is just clip it a little bit further than that. And now we've got black wire. So let's see what that, let's see if we can get that to fit in there. Kind of see both of them together. Yeah. Goes there, that goes there. All right, let me spin this around so you guys can take a quick look. And then I'll do the third one, but it'll just be dangling without actually touch. It'll be a shorter one, just kind of coming out and dangling down. But I like the way that looks so far. And then this outline here is where this other cable section is going to go. There's a third piece that's got to attach to this, but this will be, the wires will come out of here and kind of attach to this end, but nothing will be coming out of the other end. So I want it to look like this piece got pulled forward. All the wires have been kind of pulled through those two or three sections of cable, and then the rest of this is the severed side. Does that make sense? Thanks, Andrew. I'm happy with it so far. I've got to do that one last cable, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised by how this looks. I think it looks good. I think it looks good. All right. So now we've got one more cable to do here. So let me pull this back out. See, everything falls to the ground. All right, so we got one more short piece here. I'm just going to kind of dig out. I'm just going to take a little bit of this. So I've got a little bit of room for that insulated. I'm going to use the same that piece of rubber tubing just to kind of insulate it. So I need to get a little bit of space for it. Actually, I could probably use this piece that broke earlier because it's already, it's short enough that I could probably just, can actually use that one. Waste not, want not, right? So I'm just kind of trimming out a little bit of this collar here so to make room for that piece of wire that's coming out. Come on, there we go. So this is a short, straight piece, pretty easy to, it's not going to take much at all because it's just going to come in and kind of dangle. I just need to give it a little bit more of a bend, or I need to straighten this actually. So right about where this clears the this section of cable. I just want it to go straight down. A little bit more, almost there. All right, so we'll go there. I'm actually going to carve out a little more of this. Won't be seen. It's going to be under that cable, just giving myself a little bit of a notch to kind of hold it in place. All right. Perfect. Okay. So let me, again, we'll take the end of this and just kind of deburr it so that tube slides over a little bit easier. Just slide this on. There we go. Okay. And again, I just need to bend that down so I can see where the end of my wire is and just kind of clip it behind that. I actually got a short piece left over in case I need to do something else. All right. So let's do this final assembly here. See what this looks like. Goes there, that goes there. And this one goes there. Oops. The third one's going to have to be put back in here. All right. Let's try it. I need a little bit more of that wire exposed. There we go. Okay. Oh, it's falling apart here. My cable section was trying to separate because again, none of this stuff's glued yet. I've got to take it apart and paint it. So all that's going to be if I can get these all in there. Okay. I get one in and the other one falls out. Right there. Now if I can very gently set this back down, I might have to cut that other one a little bit shorter. Actually, it's right on the ground. I wanted it dangling, but yeah, I may shorten it up slightly, but yeah, just so I'm going to give it a little bit more of a different angle, but let me just spin this around one last time here. We're getting down to the end. So there we go. So you got three wires coming out of it. I may even take some my magnet wire. Once I glue all these in, I could take my magnet wire and go around all three of them, but I don't know if I'll do that or not. I was thinking of more like, something wrapped, like an insulation wrap or something, but I don't know if that's going to be necessary. I think this looks pretty good the way it is. And once I weather all the openings there that are where these cables are coming out, it's going to look like it's torn apart. But anyway, yeah, I like it. I like it so far. I think I need to change that angle just a little bit on this third one. Cut it slightly shorter. Yeah, see if I can get this to come back off. Yeah, I'm just going to cut this this cable slightly shorter so it's not even touching the ground. And my phone is blowing up tonight. Everybody wants to talk to me, including my wife. Over. I just happened to look at that one. I don't know. I've heard it going off. I don't know who the other ones were, but we'll see. So I'm just going to put this back on. Take one last look here. See if I can get this to sit. Oh, too far. Oh, shoot. No, I went the wrong direction. I got to cut that rubber insulation back here because I got this, the wire is shorter, but I didn't cut the black insulation back, so I got to see. Yeah, I got to cut this right about there. Could actually do it at an angle. That would be interesting, huh? Cut it so it looks like a cable that's been chopped off at an angle. All right. One last look here. Gosh darn it. I tell you, I get one in and then I just barely touch it and it falls apart. All right. Don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. Let's see if it's successful. Okay. Yeah. I like that better. Let me pull this off so we can spin it around one last time. So now, I basically have that that third cable just kind of dangling in the back there. It's not even touching the ground. I cut it in an angle. I'll even cut the other one, the first one, the black insulated one. I'll cut that at an angle as well. And then the spring, that will just be the way it is. I might have to kind of pull that spring apart at the very end to make it look like it pulled apart. I think that'd be better than just a straight cut. If I pull that coil out a little bit and kind of cut that end off, it should be fine. All right, boys and girls. Let's finish this bad boy up. I'm gonna have to check those URLs, but I'm pretty sure they are correct because I copied them straight to the Kick account. But again, Kick is something new. I'm more concerned about YouTube, and at the moment, I don't really care much about the others. It's just I have the option of streaming to those other locations, so I do just to get it out there. But it's not as important to me as the YouTube channel, and I know that's just fine. So since Facebook has decided to delete all of my videos that I've made after 30 days, they delete them all. So I don't even bother trying to download them because really, what am I going to do? They're already out there. If you want to see everything, just come to the YouTube channel. It's all going to be there. Looks very promising. Thank you, Hendren. I appreciate your input, sir, especially coming from someone like yourself. It's an amazing builder. I do take that to heart. I really, really appreciate all your input. So anyway, let me go down the list here real quick. Everybody that came in tonight. First, we had Julius was first one in. Then we had Grateful01, who was from Kick, who was trying to spam me. And then, but before that, we had some other like Wayne, blah, blah, something from Kick, also trying to spam me. Julius and I were talking, and then George popped in. How you do? Thanks for coming in, George. As always, love to see you here. Fuzzy Space Kitty from New Zealand. Thank you. I know you're not here right now, but thank you so much for joining in. And GB, thanks again for coming in from Australia. I appreciate you. And so let me move on down. That was pretty much it. Handren, of course, saying waving goodbye. I think everybody. I appreciate all you. Let's see as we get down the bottom here. Yeah, that was it. And of course, one final spam from Kick at the bottom telling me my URLs are wrong. But anyway, thumbs up. Thank you, Julius. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Handren. Thank you, George, if you're still here. Anyway, guys, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. It's just getting worse. So take care of yourselves. I know this weekend is probably going to be a disaster for a lot of people, some in certain places of the country, but I don't I don't like talking about politics, but it's a reality that we're all dealing with right now. So it's going to get nuts. And so, yeah, we're prepping for it for sure. Good night, guys. Yeah, good night, George. And anyway, everybody else, be good humans, and please smash that like button. Tell your friends. Go to the YouTube channel. All the support is greatly appreciated, and all the videos are there from day one. All 100 plus videos that I've done. I can't remember how many I've got under my belt now, but I know we're well over 100. So, and all my previous works that I've since I started doing the live streams are there. If as far as the Facebook page, you won't be able to see the videos there as much, but you can still see all the photos that I've uploaded over the years. That's all there too. But again, thank you so much for joining in. Hit the like and subscribe, and put a comment in. It always helps the algorithm. So anyway, boys and girls, have a great night, and we'll catch you on the flip. Be good humans.